Good morning, SHS. Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Expert. Today I'm here with our superintendent, Mrs. Palmer.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or whenever you're watching.
So a link to a form was sent around to all of the advisory classes, and many students had questions for you.
Okay.
So would you be willing to answer some?
I'm happy to answer questions.
Perfect. So the first question is from Brady York in Ms. Teresi's advisory. He wants to know, what does your day-to-day schedule look like?
What does my day-to-day schedule look like? Well, I guess first I'll say it's never the same. So I was a teacher for many years, and I had a schedule that I could count on, with my planned classes and that sort of thing. And being in a job like this, it changes day to day. So I have lots and lots of meetings during the day. I meet with different groups of people for different reasons. My primary responsibility is to make sure that the school district's running efficiently and that we're successful and all of that. I mean, that is my job. So just making sure, on a day-to-day basis, whatever it takes to ensure that everything's happening the way it should be across the district, whether it's out and about in a school at a particular event or, again, having meetings with various groups throughout the district, that sort of thing.
You're pretty busy.
I am, yes. But we all are, but yes.
Yep. So, all right. Our second question is from Ben Cervantes and Mr. Bujold's advisory and Seth Gallant and Miss Upson's advisory. They want to know, why does school have to start so early and why can't we start school later?
Okay. Well, I certainly understand why teenagers would rather start later in the day because I know you like to sleep in. I like to sleep in too. So really it comes down to scheduling issues for the most part. We have looked at a later start in the past. We've looked at even flip-flopping, having elementary start earlier and having middle and high school start later. There are a few roadblocks that we've encountered. A biggie are the buses, because our buses run. They do a high school and middle school run, then they do an elementary run. It's the same fleet of buses, so trying to schedule that. We don't have enough buses that we could run them all at the same time for all the levels of schooling, so that's a big obstacle. We also find with high school kids and middle school kids, after-school jobs are an important part of the day, so to get out in an early enough time that kids can work and make some money after school, activities, after school, extracurriculars, sports or clubs or whatever it may be, also enough time in the afternoon to run those and still give students enough time to get home and do homework and whatever else needs to be done in the evening. So combination of factors that have made that decision to keep our schedule the way it is. Yeah,
it's definitely understandable. So we had more questions about snow days than I think you would imagine.
No, I can imagine.
So from Ella Mostow, David LaBelle, and several others, they ask, will we still have true snow days or will we have remote days now that students have one-to-one technology?
It's a good question. And that question really, is a pandemic question. It came to be because we realized we could actually run remote days successfully. But we have made a decision as a district that we enjoy a good old-fashioned snow day. So we will once again do what we did last year, which we'll have 3 snow days where school will be canceled completely. No one will be required to come in. If we get beyond 3 days, then we would switch to a remote instruction day. Last year we didn't get to that point because we only ended up with 3 snow days, fortunately. And the reason for that, the reason why we wouldn't just continue snow days is I don't think anyone really wants to go to school late in June. No. By mid-June it gets hot and we're ready for summer vacation. So we feel that 3, looking at the calendar, is a reasonable amount to have a snow day, and then we'll move to remote if it comes to that point.
Yes. Some more questions came out about the elimination of delayed openings. So Rachel Carr from Ms. Teresi's advisory and Madison Mohan from Mrs. Upson's advisory asked, why did we eliminate them?
Okay. We actually didn't eliminate them. We just rebranded them to all early releases. So when we first started having delayed openings and early releases, we still had half-day kindergarten happening in the school district. So we switched it so that the kindergarten kids wouldn't always miss school, if that makes sense. So if, in a delayed opening, the morning session kids wouldn't come to school. On an early release, the afternoon sessions wouldn't come to school. So that was one of the drivers. The sending students who come from surrounding school districts were also a consideration. So now that we have full-day kindergarten, we moved to all early releases this year. So they're all on the same day of the week, and they're all this in the afternoon versus the morning. So we just switched. We didn't get rid of them. We just switched it. And I know, again, it probably because you like to sleep in.
I do, yes. All right, we have some quick questions here. So from Corey Pomelo from Regan and Moreau's Advisory, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. No question.
I do not like Reese's.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
I bought them already for trick-or-treating, and they had to go straight to the freezer so that I wouldn't touch them.
Liv Durkin from Miss Gilbert's Advisory wants to know, what's your favorite color?
Oh, Blue Devil Blue.
Blue. Nice.
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense.
I should have worn some blue. Well, I guess I'm there. Yeah, a little bit.
Cole Evans, also from Miss Gilbert's Advisory, wants to know, how long have you been working in the education field?
In the education field, my entire career, actually, so it's been over 30 years. Wow. I started as a classroom teacher. I taught 5th grade and 6th grade, which I loved, absolutely loved 6th graders. And then I became an administrator. So I was an assistant principal, then I was a principal, and then I moved to central office. And my teaching career was not here in Salem. I taught in a neighboring town, but my entire administrative career has been here in Salem.
Nice. Miss Hopkins from the library wants to know, have you read any good books lately?
I love that question, Mrs. Hopkins. I'm actually reading a fantastic book right now. The name of the book is called The Measure. I know the author's first name is Nikki. It starts with an E, the last name. I'm terrible on authors' names. But this book called The Measure is about one day anyone across the globe who's over 22 years old wakes up to find a box on their front step or wherever they live with their name on it and a string that tells you how much longer you're going to live and what ensues around the globe when everyone receives those boxes. It's a really brilliant book.
That definitely sounds
highly recommend.
Yeah. Maya Garcia from Miss Vitteri's Advisory asks, could our school district go by required hours instead of number of school days?
Yes, we could. New Hampshire law is such that we go by a 180-day calendar, but we could do instructional hours instead. There's a certain amount of hours, 990 hours for middle school and high school, 945 hours for elementary, and I believe it's 450 for kindergarten that need to be in by the end of the year. We exceed that with 180 days. In that, that's flexibility for schools with different scheduling. Again, our schedule is built for some of the reasons that I talked about earlier, with busing and with after-school programming and that sort of thing. But we could go by instructional hours if we so chose. And there are years when, if snow days became insurmountable, there's so many days at the end of the year that you can go back and calculate how many hours have we been in school, and that way you can still get out at an earlier date. So we always have that option at the end of the year as well.
All right. I have one last question from you, for you. Lucas Turpin in Mr. Vero's Advisory wants to know, so far, what is the highlight or best part of being a superintendent?
Another very good, these questions are wonderful. Well, I guess I would say that I would not want to be superintendent just anywhere. I specifically chose Salem. I had worked in the district, and when Dr. Delahanty was announced that he was retiring, that's when I gave it some serious thought to throw my hat in the ring, so to speak, to become superintendent. So I would say that the highlight is really this school district, the people in the school district, the students in the school district, the families. I mean, just even coming up here today, and taking in what you have here in this particular program at your fingertips, the beautiful rooms. So it's not one thing I would say that's my highlight. It's whenever I have an opportunity to sort of take a step back and see all that we're able to offer the students. That makes me proud.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. All right. That is all we have.
Okay.